This is Roseanne Cheng, and I'm the Marketing Director at Wise & Creative Publishing. And today for Wise Questions, we are at the amazing Black Stacks Brewing Company in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. This month, we are going to be talking about everybody's favorite subject, editing. Yay! We always get questions about editing. Editing is a huge part of the publication process. It's something we take very, very seriously at Wise & and we want you to be a master editor as well. What is the difference between content editing and proofreading? There are really two different types of editing. One is content editing, one is proofreading. Content editing is basically looking at your manuscript holistically. So, for example, somebody who's content editing your manuscript isn't really going to be looking for grammar or mechanical errors. They're looking for flow. They're going to make sure that your characters are all consistent and your timeline is also consistent and you're following a reasonable story arc. You would always want to do content editing first because you want to get some of those major plot and structural issues completed before you get to the proofreading phase. Proofreading is much more specific. Somebody who is proofreading your work is going to be looking for comma placement and making sure that all of your sentence structure is following a specific style and is consistent to that style. Because of the way this works, you'll always want to content edit before you proofread. The next question we often hear is, should I have other people read my manuscript before I have it edited? The answer to this question is yes. Editing is very expensive. You want to have other people read and give you feedback on your manuscript before you submit your work to be professionally edited. You certainly don't have to do this, but understand that every time you have your work professionally edited, you are going to pay a premium for a quality job. Beta readers, or those people who are reading your manuscript before it's edited, are really invaluable to your writing process. These should be people who know and love you. If you trust them to read your manuscript, you absolutely should give it to them and get their feedback. It should also include people who don't know and love you. These should be people who maybe are invested in this specific genre. Maybe they really love giving feedback to writers. Getting people to read your work if they don't know you personally is a really great way to really understand if your manuscript is any good. So you absolutely should be getting the feedback of beta readers and the feedback of friends and family before you actually go into professional editing phase. Third question is, what is a great way for me to collect all of this feedback? This is a really phenomenal question because anybody who has finished a manuscript understands that if you've given your manuscript to, say, 10 beta readers, that means you have 10 people's opinions all floating around at the same time at you. This can be really overwhelming, and they also can often contradict one another. That is the beauty of books. Not everybody is going to have the same opinion about everything. I think one of the best ways to collect feedback personally is to ask each of your beta readers to give you feedback in a consistent manner. For me, the way that makes sense is to give people your manuscript in a printed out form and ask them to make notes in the margins of that manuscript. Is it a lot of paper? Yes. Should you be using recycled paper? Absolutely. But it's really a great way to make sure that you understand that this feedback is from one person, this feedback is from another. You can certainly do that in a shared Google Doc. I just think that gets a little bit confusing and overwhelming. Keep your feedback separate based on each beta reader that you're giving your manuscript to, and make sure you take that feedback with a grain of salt. So understand that the person who you are in a relationship with might give you different feedback than someone who is a college professor in the subject matter that you are writing. Make sure that you are taking each person's feedback for what it is and being realistic with it. The fourth question is, should I have my manuscript professionally edited before I submit it? This is a really, really great question because it seems like the answer to this should be yes. In theory, it would make sense to pay to have somebody edit it, or at least content edit it, so it is as perfectly polished as it can be. If you trust somebody to publish your work, that means you're kind of trusting them to bring in the right people to look at your manuscript. I can't think of a single instance where we've gotten a manuscript at Wise Ink and have not had that manuscript professionally edited, even if it had been edited before. So my advice to all of you is not to waste your money to have your manuscript professionally edited before you submit it in for publication. Just make sure it is as good as you could possibly make it, you the writer. The fifth and final question is, how much does editing cost? This is such a good question. Everybody wants to know how much editing costs. When it comes to editing, you will always get what you pay for. And this is really, really important to know. Be prepared to spend at least $1,000 to have your manuscript professionally edited. This is what somebody who is a professional, who has experience, who is familiar with a certain style of writing that is consistent with the way that you are trying to write your manuscript, that's what they should be commanding. When you have your manuscript proofread professionally, you should be expecting to pay between 2 and 5 cents per word of your manuscript. That does not seem like a ton of money. It does add up. So you want to make sure that you're not constantly sending your manuscript in to be content edited and then proofread and then content edited and then proofread again, because that's a really good way to spend a lot of money. That's it for Wise Questions for this month. We hope you are enjoying the editing process of your work. With all of writing, all of this is a journey, and it is your choice to really enjoy all of it. So we at Wise Ink suggest you enjoy the editing. Really, all you're doing is making your manuscript as best as it can possibly be. That's terrible. That's what I'm looking for.